Mr. President of the Portuguese Republic, Mrs. President of the Assembly of the Portuguese Republic, honorable members of the Assembly of the Republic, Mrs. Deputy Secretary General of the Council of Europe, distinguished prize winners, ladies and gentlemen, let me first of all express my gratitude and appreciation for the continued and resolute support of the authorities of Portugal to the North-South Centre. I would like more particularly to thank the President of the Republic, Mr. Aníbal Cavaco Silva, and the President of the Assembly of the Republic, Mrs. Maria da Assunção Esteves, for their active, enduring commitment to the values promoted by the Council of Europe and by the North-South Centre. It is also the greatest honor for me to welcome here our winners, two women, and this is the very first time in the history of the North-South Prize, Asma Jahangir from Pakistan and Monika Hauser from Italy. Two extraordinary symbols, two women engaged for human and women's rights and democracy. Mrs. Monika Hauser has worked relentlessly to help traumatized women and girls around the world. She started by establishing a pilot therapy center in the city of Zenica in the middle of the Bosnian War to provide gynecological care, psychosocial counseling, and legal assistance to women and girls who suffered violent sexual, physical, and psychological attacks. Similar centers exist now in many other places throughout the world. Mrs. Asma Jahangir has been actively engaged for the past 40 years to defend the rights of women, religious minorities, and laborers, both in and out of the courtroom. She was a leading figure in the campaign to reform the controversial Hudud Ordinance, which allowed rape victims to be charged with adultery. Her work as UN Special Rapporteur on extrajudicial, arbitrary, or summary executions, and as UN Special Rapporteur on freedom of religion or belief is highly recognized internationally. Our laureates today have diverse expertise, but they are united by their devotion to human dignity and to women's rights. The defense and promotion of women's rights is a daily struggle which is never accomplished, and which, on the contrary, is subjected to setbacks, even in Western countries undergoing a deep economic and spiritual crisis. Women's rights, in fact, are perishable. And that is why I am particularly proud of the fact that the North-South Centre focuses many of its activities on this issue. We are in the front line of this struggle, since no society can call itself civil, be it rich or prosperous, if women's rights are not fully recognized. As I said, the North-South Centre has actively worked to promote women's rights since 1994. A set of coherent activities, the North-South process, as we call it, has been launched in Rome in October 2011 to promote the empowerment of women. Since then, a Euro-Med women network supporting the process grew up to include over 600 members. Last year's International Annual Conference in Istanbul focused more particularly on political and socio-economic women's empowerment. The centrality of women's rights for democratic transformations was one of the main topics covered by the Lisbon Forum 2012 on the Arab season. It was then underlined that gender equality is essential for successful democratic reforms and for building inclusive societies. This year's program of the Centre is devoted in particular to empowerment of women in public life. Specific activities are also foreseen to raise awareness about the Istanbul Convention of the Council of Europe against domestic violence. And let me underline that this week my parliament, the Italian parliament, has started the process to quickly ratify it. We will so be the fifth state to have ratified the convention after Portugal. After the current refocusing, better linking the North-South Centre to Strasbourg headquarters, the Centre will increasingly engage with women and youth in the South Mediterranean area, using its privileged tools of democratic citizenship education and intercultural dialogue. Lisbon, with its Mediterranean soul, powerfully transmits the spirit of discovering the other, of bridging Europe to its neighbors. As a voice of the Executive Committee of the Centre, that is a quadrilogue composed by representatives of member states, parliaments, local and regional authorities, as well as the civil society, I would like to reiterate the primary political relevance of the North-South Center for the Council of Europe neighborhood policy and for the whole Mediterranean basin. Ladies and gentlemen, the achievement of the Center was made possible by the small but highly motivated and dynamic North-South Center team of people, to which I want to congratulate and wish a full success for the future. Our laureates today are the most powerful symbols of the Center's noble and, let me say, stubborn mission.